welcome to Viewpoint. Tonight we're talking about food, one of my favourite subjects, and maybe it's yours too. The restaurant business is a significant sector, having grown exponentially over the years, offering a diverse mix of international cuisines. It's fundamental to our tourism industry, and it's also one of the biggest employers in the private sector. But it is a tough business, and now with the border opening up, there'll be more competition to contend with, but also possibly more customers. Now let's turn to our panel, who know far more about it than I do. We're joined by Ian Ballantyne. He's the president of the Gibraltar Catering Association. We also have John Skellett, who is the head of operations at Admiral Casinos. Ansi Fernandez, co-owner of Curry and Sushi. And we also have James Barton, who's the founder of Oakberry SI Gibraltar, Candy Castle and Era. But tell me what your thoughts are as well about our local businesses, local restaurants. Email viewpoint@gbc.gi. That's viewpoint@gbc.gi. We'd love to hear from you tonight. So there is plenty to talk about. First of all, by way of a short introduction, can you just tell us a little bit about what your business is, Ian?
I own the Time Out and the Bake and Take, and I've been in this business now for over 20 years. But with Time Out, we've had it now for 16.
Okay, and currently president of the Gibraltar Catering Association.
At the moment, yes.
Ansi, tell us about Curry and Sushi. When did you open up?
9 years ago. It's a family-run business, a very passionately run restaurant, much loved. Been in Gibraltar myself for over just 10 years, but then with a very successful restaurant. And I'm proud to be here.
Difficult business to have?
If it's not difficult, it's no fun.
Oh, okay, that's good. James, tell us about, now you're a newcomer to this industry, aren't you? Tell us about your business.
Yeah, compared to the rest of the panel, I've only been in business for maybe 2.5 years. I've started Oakberry SI, which is a healthy smoothie bowl kind of takeaway. We also have Candy Castle, which is the opposite. It's a sweet shop in casemates. And now we're launching Era, which is a health-focused, quick-service food restaurant. So my focus has always been eating good food quickly.
Okay, excellent. So we go from the young to the more experienced, I should say. John, Admiral Casinos, tell us what that encompasses.
Yeah, so I operate for Admiral Casinos. Under our flagship, we have O'Reilly's brand, the newly acquired Marina Bar, which was formerly Viceroy nightclub. And more recently, we've opened the Arena Sports Bar in Casemate Square. So yeah, we operate multiple platforms, sports betting, obviously casino, bingo, and obviously bars and restaurants.
Okay, so I'd just like to ask you how businesses have, how the sector has changed over the last few years, let's say since COVID. Before COVID, it seemed that things were a lot easier. It seems to have gotten a bit harder since COVID, possibly because people's habits have changed. What have you observed?
In my business, what we've realized is that after COVID, it's taken quite a few years for people to get back to their normal habits. And apart from that, the business wasn't, it stayed like a bit stagnant for a couple of years. And slowly we've been changing things and working differently, and slowly we're coming back to where we were, but we're not yet back to what it was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
You know, COVID's had a massive impact on the industry and all of us. And I was lucky that I had I cater more for the local people, and we were able to survive. What was it? But there were other establishments which catered mostly for tourists. They went through hell, you know, and now they're starting to recover as well. It's been difficult. It's not been easy for the industry at all.
But also the rise of the home delivery must have impacted businesses as well. Do you think so?
Yes. When I started Curry and Sushi, I started in a very small place in Irish Town. Not too many people had tried my place, but when COVID happened, it was a blessing in disguise. Well, I see things positively every time, so probably I will call it a blessing in disguise. It put us all restaurants on the same platform. Everybody started doing takeaways. So that has continued, the trend has continued. As Ian says, the habit of spending has been reduced. It's not the same what it was before COVID, but then we make the best of what we have. And our locals have been a backbone.
Yeah.
They've kept us there.
I mean, John, Ocean Village in particular is an area where lots of tourists go to. How have you seen things over recent years?
obviously COVID was a massive impact on our business. We're heavily reliant on footfall, being a casino, being a bingo, also our bars and restaurants. We did dabble in the takeaway business during COVID, but obviously, we're not as successful as maybe some of the fast food outlets. Since COVID's kind of now, shifted away, we've started to see more footfall into our operations. Business isn't back to where it was pre-COVID, but it's looking a lot more healthy, and we've seen growth year on year since COVID.
So let's just have a look at who is eating out in Gibraltar. I mean, where does your business come from? Is it tourists? What's the mix of tourists, locals, older generation, younger generation? What are you observing?
In my business, generally, the majority are locals. I do get some people who come over and stay in apartments in Euro Towers and Euro City in the summer, and you see maybe a couple, and they are there for a few days, and then you get another couple. But generally, we are just locally based. We put football matches on for people to come and watch.
Yeah.
We have our Sunday roasts. We have our own little tapas foods and things like that. And we attract people local to have a beer and a tapa, and it's picking up with that,
Yeah.
But I look after the locals.
Let's go to the youngest member of this panel, James. Where are young people eating out in Gibraltar, or are they going to Spain?
I can say, at least from the people that I know, and a lot of my friends in my age group are now in jobs, they're all working, and more people than ever are eating out, especially for lunch, and mainly the takeaway kind of focus. So they're busy, they have a 1 hour lunch break, so they want to very quickly go get something tasty and take it back to the workplace and eat that. So that's one thing I've really noticed. And one thing that I think will change the patterns we see in Gib, because as people work more and the pattern of work changes, kitchens that close at 3 p.m. may start extending their hours. I know Ansie's kitchen closes at 4 p.m., which is a bit late.
One of the restaurant doesn't anymore. Because of the changing trend.
Exactly, which is a bit later for Gib. Lots of places close at 3 p.m. So my focus has always been in my food businesses to open from throughout the day. Even if our sales drop, we always keep it open.
Well, let me ask you about the lunch trade, actually, because I remember when Café Rojo in Irish Town closed a couple of years ago now, one of the things that Annette said was what sort of killed their business was the change in civil service hours, because it completely reduced the lunch trade. I don't know what your trade is. Is yours lunch or is it dinner? I mean, what's your...
We get a balance across our venues from 8 in the morning through till kind of 4 a.m. obviously. But certainly the food element of it is heavily driven around different days of the week. We get a heavy footfall, obviously, at the weekend for breakfast trade, that then naturally flows into lunchtime trade. More in the week, it's kind of late lunch, so from kind of 1 p.m. through till kind of 4. We benefit from being in Ocean Village with the sun. Obviously, the sun comes round. It's a great venue to sit out and kind of have a refreshing drink. And we find that our footfall in the afternoon increases, and it goes through kind of probably till about early evening, 8 p.m. Then we get a different shift in clientele coming after 8 p.m.
What about you, Ansie? I mean, you're in Irish. What do you...
Well, what he had to say is very right. Location. So that plays a very important role when it comes to your footfall and for your lunches and things like that. James, I think you have it in the main street. We have a lot of shops, offices around who can come to you out there. I got 2 restaurants. One is closer to Irish Town, and closer to the main street. That has movement a lot in lunch. But the one in Water Gardens, that is far more busier for dinner. Let me put it that way. So
you've got a lot of residents there as well.
Exactly. And if you ask us about our clients, I would say it very strongly and extremely passionately, that if it wouldn't have been for the locals, we wouldn't have any of us be sitting here today.
I agree.
Yeah.
It is them who have kept us going, the stability that we have had, the support that we get. It just makes us feel to do better and work harder.
Yeah.
So whether it's a lunch or whether it's just a coffee or whether it's a dinner or a celebration, locals play a big role. Tourists are a bonus.
Yeah, you've said that, the locals.
Yeah, locals, and when this thing of the working hours changed, and we used to get a lot of trade at working hours in the area I was with Time Out, people from hospital, people from gaming and all that, to pop in and have a quick meal and go back to work. And that we lost. But what I did was I opened the bacon take, and the people who came for the quick rolls and lunch, and they pop in there, get a roll, and that helped us get through what we had lost in the lunchtime.
Okay, we talked about lunch. Let's talk about dinner then. You know, anyone that goes over to Spain in the evening, whether it's La Linea or any of the other nearby towns and cities, you see that it's quite vibrant in the evening. A lot of people, the habits are, it's the habit that, you know, they go out and they have their drink and their tapas or whatever, and the nightlife is buzzing. And we don't really, there are certain spots that we have that are a bit buzzing. So you've got Chatham Counterguard, but they have the benefit of the outside seating. Not every restaurant has that. There's certainly nothing really along Main Street. You've got a bit of atmosphere in Casemates, and you've got Ocean Village, of course, and Ocean Village has got a lot of the lighting and all of that. But do you think that it's an area that we could try and perhaps push a bit further? I mean, if you do want to attract tourists as well, do you think we need a bit more of a vibrant nightlife in Gib? Let's ask one of our young people here.
Definitely, and obviously there's many definitions of nightlife. It could be more of the going out late and drinking, or like you mentioned, having a more lively street that entices people to come at 8, 9 p.m. I think it's more of a cultural thing. Even though we embody a lot of the Spanish culture, we personally in Gibraltar just simply like to be comfortable at home in the evening. And I think in order for that to change, businesses would first need to take the risk of improving their facades, opening later in Main Street, and then waiting for the people to catch up. Personally, like for our businesses, we always stay open till about 8 or 8:30 p.m, even when the sales drop, because we do still get sales in the evening, and we're sort of trying to push that change. And we do that from Monday to Sunday every day.
Okay, let's have a look at, we've got a question here from someone who says local expenses for all businesses have always been excessive. If we want to be competitive and attractive, we urgently need government to try and reduce their costs, such as rates, permits, licences, and somehow influence utilities like telephone and electricity bills to lower their commercial rates, at least for caterers and retailers. So I'd really like to spend some time focusing on this as being quite a challenge to businesses like restaurants. You hear a lot said about it. And of course, sometimes that cost is reflected in the price of the food, and you hear people complaining about, that's really expensive, I can get that dish cheaper in Spain, but then of course the costs are different. So let's talk about the sort of costs that you face, and let's try and address the point that this person, James, is making.
He's right.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
Nothing.
There are a list
Tell
of
us about
costs.
some of your costs then.
Oh, right from scratch, right from the time you dream and hope and to start a restaurant or a business, you have your licenses that you need to apply for, which need to be renewed every year. So you keep on paying your fees every year, and then later.
But isn't that the same in the UK? Anywhere else, you're paying your license fees.
Are
every
we on
year?
the same play field? No. The market is far bigger in UK. It's a massive market there. They're always busier there. Our market is our local cluster, kind of a thing. So somewhere down the line, now that we are having an open border, primarily we are having a meeting today, maybe here, because of the treaty that's coming up. Now we are looking at a bigger market coming in. So when the market gets bigger, we need to make ourselves more attractive.
We will talk about that
And
when the treaty comes in.
For that, the costs are going to increase.
Yeah, but let's
and when
talk
the
about.
costs are going to increase, we definitely need the government to help.
Well, let's talk about your costs now. So one of the challenges that we were talking about earlier on that you all face is the cost of acquiring new staff. I mean, it's difficult enough to acquire staff, and then there's quite a lot of costs involved in that. Do you want to take us through some of that?
Listen, it's no secret. It's a real challenge to employ new staff.
Are they all from over the border? Do you get any locals?
I would say 90% of my team is from over the border. Some of them can be British, some of them can be from different genres of Europe. Some Spanish, obviously. Locals, I only employ a handful. There seems to be a real kind of barrier for locals to get involved in the hospitality industry.
Why is that?
Well, one of my observations is that there's no real foundation of training here. In the UK, you've got some amazing catering colleges, universities that treat the industry as a profession. And what you find now is that people are coming into the industry that don't look at it as a profession. When I went into it, I started in the industry when I was like 15 years old. And I always had a passion to become a chef and be a restaurateur. There isn't that passion here in Gibraltar. You don't see it. It's very, very few and far between.
Interesting, because you don't even see, like, students have Saturday jobs in restaurants.
Exactly,
I mean, when I was at school, I had a Saturday job in a restaurant. And also, do you think, James, let me ask you this, do you think young people see it as a job that's perhaps beneath them? You know, being a waiter, they aspire to be something, you know, more than a waiter or someone who works in a restaurant. They don't really see it as the sort of trade that it is.
I have a differing viewpoint, because most of our employees are local, and a lot of them are either uni students who've come back for their summer breaks or are studying abroad, or some of them are even in school, 17, you know, doing their A-levels and having the weekend
But do
job
they
that
want
you
it as a
mentioned.
permanent career?
No, I don't think so. I think people see it as a stepping stone to gain experience, but I don't think many people see it as a lifelong career, purely because it's not the kind of job that long-term can support
It's also a very
family and
tough
lifestyle.
job to be in, and I want to ask you, what made you go into the food industry? Because I've had family members who were in the restaurant business, and I know how tough it is. What made you want to go in?
I mean, the food industry, I believe, is the industry that fails most of all businesses. Yeah. It's, I think, the chance of failure is like 90% within 5 years or something. For me, the main motivation is that I've always had a very systematic and sort of systems-orientated approach to what I do. So I feel like I've come in from a completely different aspect. I'm not an expert on food. I like to get that knowledge from people who know more than me. But I come in and try and make the business as efficient as possible. That's always what I've done. So all of our shops run on very little staff. And as you guys know, on your P&L, labour is the most expensive thing that we have at the moment. True. So for me personally, I'm passionate about new innovative kinds of ideas, and in Gib I've seen a gap in the market for the area that I've gone into, which is my personal motivation for going in.
Do you think there's enough diverse selection? I mean, I've talked about an international mix. I mean, we've got all nationalities in Gib. But do you think that, you know, a lot of restaurants you go to will offer the same meals? So, you know, there'll be calamares, there'll be banoffee pie. Do you think there's enough diversity in what we offer?
Yes.
There is, yeah?
Yes, there is.
I think there can be more. There can definitely be more.
They can, and there is scope for much more.
There's an analysis that people always say that Gibraltar is, you know, 8 or 5 years behind the UK in terms of restaurant trade and bars. You go to the UK, you experience a far more vast culture of food available to you. Gibraltar has improved over the last 7 or 8 years. But I think there's a long way to go before we get to the point where we can say it's a...
We're on that road.
Yeah, but
yeah,
you know,
we're on that road.
One of the biggest problems
we're not
is
there yet, you know?
getting the right people to be able to build that.
Yeah, and the skill set as well.
Yeah, exactly. If we haven't got a foundation set up, for example, about the school, the association, more than one occasion, when we've had meeting with ministers, have brought up this subject. This is not a subject which hasn't been brought up, and we've told them. What we need is people that one day I retire and they want to own their own restaurant. But if we don't,
so there's no
them,
catering courses in Gibraltar, not even at the college,
nothing,
nowhere.
Nothing. There was a beautiful big kitchen up in the university, and they've taken it out now apparently. From
I think the closest catering
San Roque
training is San Roque.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of chefs that have come through there, and they are very good. The standard is very high. But compared to the UK, where you've got almost like a conveyor belt of people coming out of the colleges into the industry.
Yeah, and you don't have that.
You don't have that here. So
and now, with this treaty, how do we get them here? Because they will be coming into, something of a Schengen area, which is not a Schengen area, so they say in the treaty. Will they be able to come live in Gibraltar? Well, because they'll have to live in Gibraltar. They won't be able to live in Spain. And can they afford...
Well, the simple answer to that is no,
the flats,
they can't.
The thing, so it's a catch-22. We had a meeting with a minister who wants to make Gibraltar a destination for food. And we were really happy, great, But the same thing came out, as I've just said now. Where's the foundation? If we try and build a house without a foundation, what happens? It breaks.
But can I
collapses.
ask you, Ian, I mean, you're the president of the Catering Association. Is there not something you can do as a collective body to try and you know, do courses yourselves? But particularly with Admirals, I mean, if you don't mind me saying, you've got the money behind your business, perhaps in a way that the smaller ones don't.
You know, we have a very successful global platform to train across many different countries. We are formally a gaming company. We're not a food and beverage company. So in terms of our foundation for training food and beverage skills, that would not be. I'm not saying it wouldn't be possible, but it would be very difficult. We formally kind of look at the gaming element of our foundation to train people.
Fair enough. Well, I just want to say to James, I haven't forgotten your question. We haven't really completely asked it, but whilst I'm with you, John, I want to ask you about the nightclub, because that nightclub has been so many different nightclubs over the years, and they seem to be successful at the beginning, and then they seem to sort of die a death. Why is that? And what do you intend to do with that area now?
Okay, well, we took it over probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And we've totally changed the kind of strategy about what that venue can be. Yes, it is a nightclub venue, but Gibraltar is only one night a week in terms of young people and Friday nights going out. We're trying to pitch it to more of an older generation, more of kind of over 30s, and use Friday really as a kind of, you know, no entry to the venue. So I think, you know, trying to charge somebody £10 to go into a nightclub and then it be empty is not, it's a really negative impact. So
there is a lack of place. So when you go out and have a nice dinner in Gibraltar, we were talking about this earlier, there is a lack of somewhere afterwards.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ocean Village has, you know, you've got the casino that stays out open late.
Sure, yeah.
What time does it stay open till?
well, we open until 4 a.m. So,
4 a.m,
yeah,
that's right, you said that. There aren't many places, although most people tend to, in a small place like ours, like you say, it tends to be only Friday night. So very difficult then, isn't it, to have a business model that really
and I think that's
relies on the Friday night.
Exactly, that's where it's failed previously. So, you know, we're opening up the venue to try different things. We've got different events going on with salsa. We've got pool teams playing out there on a Thursday. We're using it as corporate hire midweek. We're looking at kind of Saturdays for private events and birthday parties and wedding celebrations. So we're trying to open it up as a venue, not just as a nightclub. And so far it's been successful. We're seeing it grow and grow. We're getting more interest in people renting it on a private basis. It's a great location. It's a great venue. And for us, it just kind of puts that last bit of the jigsaw in terms of we're fortunate that we've got a beautiful terrace outside that we share with O'Reilly's. And
it does make a difference, doesn't it, having
absolutely.
a terrace?
Yeah, and we're not in competition with anybody now, so we can put on large-scale music events. Every 2 years we have a major football event like the Euros or the World Cup, so that really benefits our business. Also, it benefits the other businesses in Ocean Village. There's a lot of footfall come to watch the sporting events.
Can I ask you, you know, since Chatham Counterguard, I mean, there's plenty of room for competition in all sorts of restaurants over Gibraltar, but do you feel that since Chatham Counterguard became very popular, those small restaurants there, has that taken business a little bit away from Ocean Village
I think
area?
it did do a couple of years ago, but I think what you find in Gibraltar, there's always trends, and people will follow the trends. 2 years ago, Chatham you couldn't move, but a lot of the negativity reports coming from there, it was young people that really maybe shouldn't have been actually out on the street and enjoying that kind of nightlife. Basically, what's happening now, people are more migrating back to Ocean Village because there's some really cool restaurants. There's branded restaurants. We've got live music going on every weekend. So people are kind of returning, and they go where the pockets of people go. So
let's not forget Casemates as well, which actually benefits from being a main thoroughfare really of people coming into Gibraltar, and you know, they've got all the nice tables and chairs outside and the terraces. I want to ask you, do tourists, I know most of your business is local, but what do tourists spend and what do tourists want? Do they want fish and chips, or do they want more local cuisine?
They want
Great food.
great food.
They want good food.
And they want entertainment at night. The problem is that, no, you can't put music here. No, you can't have live music there. No, you can't do this here. No, you can't do that there. That is a major issue. You want Gibraltar to be popular, you want people to come and enjoy the life here, there has to be a bit of give and take.
Give and take.
And at moments,
It does seem to be an issue. A lot of restaurants
it is a
have
big
complained
issue.
about that.
Chatham have had an issue with it. You guys down there in Ocean Village, and that is that Ocean Village was a leisure area, and there's still issues.
I mean, our biggest challenge is the 11 o'clock curfew.
Yes.
And we've discussed this before. And if we are going to be competitive, obviously when the treaty happens and hopefully the frontier is free-flowing, if we want to compete against La Linea, we need to be able to put live events on, let's say till midnight.
What is the law in La Linea then in Spain?
Well, I think it's midnight on the street, but obviously inside venues they can stay later, but the music has to be cut at midnight.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, it tends to be the music and entertainment tends to be the weekend. It's not sort of during the week when people are working.
And also it's seasonal.
And it's seasonal as well.
Gibraltar could be seasonal, so from June through till August, it could be a different story.
Okay, so we're going to go to a break now, and we are going to address some of these issues, the costs that James has brought up in relation to what's coming, which is the treaty. And so I'll be asking you what your thoughts are about the treaty and what it means for your businesses. Do email me, viewpoint@gbc.gi, if you've got any thoughts or views or questions you might want to put to the panel. Ian also went to a GFSB meeting this evening, so hopefully you'll update us on that. So we'll be back in just a few moments. Hello and welcome back to Viewpoint. We're talking about the local restaurant scene and the sort of challenges that the restaurants here face and what lies ahead with the treaty. And we're going to come on to that in just a moment. I want to ask you, first of all, one of the criticisms I hear about local restaurants is one to do with the service. The service isn't as good as you might want it to be. That could come down to the training issue, which we spoke about earlier on. But the other thing is price. I've heard so many people say in the past, oh, food's so expensive in Gibraltar, it's a lot cheaper in Spain. What are your thoughts about that?
The cost factor. The prices are not created because we want to create them. We have a lot of cost behind it, which we need to cover up. If you're in a business, you need to cover up your cost, make a profit so that you can continue doing the business. No doubt, our costs are very, very high here. The rate that we pay, the rent that we pay, the cost price of our raw materials, everything is pretty high. The salaries...
Higher than in Spain?
Far higher, far higher. And then if that's the case, then obviously if your cost price is higher, or your selling price is going to shoot up, you need to cover it up. It is what it is. But then I also feel very strongly, we have continued to stay in business for these many years. It's not just... Although the prices are high, if the quality of the food that you're giving is consistent, is good, and it's what the customers want, along with the best of service, then I think you're playing your cards right.
OK. Anyone else want to comment on pricing?
Yeah, I can only echo that. For example, for Oakberry, we get all of our acai shipped frozen from the Netherlands, and the cost of bringing that down is 10% of the cost of the 1 ton that we bring anyway. So that is a instant price increase that if we were shipping it to La Linea or somewhere in Spain would be much less. So just the simple...
Is that going to be less under the treaty, do you think?
It's hard to say. I really think there's not enough information to comment. I would have no idea. I think it would depend on how the transport aspects of the treaty are done. If a Spanish transport company can just drive straight into Gib and deliver to your units, I suppose, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
How do you pitch your pricing?
Well, yeah, obviously we work to a budgeted margin. I think, definitely the cost of sale has gone up over, I'd say, the last 5 or 6 years. There's been a steady incline. But I do think we're competitive, certainly on the liquor side of our business. You can go into any bar in Gibraltar and the average price of a pint is around £4.50. You go to the UK and you might be paying up to £7 or £8 ironically, for a pint of Spanish beer that is, you can buy over the border for maybe €3 or €4. Obviously, there's going to be an expectation of price increase in terms of stock coming in when the treaty is announced. But you're right, there's uncertainty in what that increase is going to be.
OK, well, let's talk about the treaty then. You went to a meeting tonight, and we heard on our business viewpoint a couple of weeks ago, somebody from the restaurant business there expressed a lot of concern about the treaty, what's to come. And I know that there were some concerns raised tonight. So could you just tell us about some of that?
The main concern was that we didn't know what's happening. Everyone was asking questions. What happens? The transporters through the border, they were asking what to transport things in. What is the... Nobody knows. The jewelers with their stuff, and nobody knows. And there was no answer to any of the questions that were asked. So that just brings uncertainty into business, makes people nervous. And
when you say there were no questions answered, was there representatives there from the government to answer questions?
No, there's no one there. But we were hoping that some people might have
the answers.
Some information.
So no one in the meeting really knew the answers?
No one knew the answers. There was just questions being asked, and nobody had an answer to any of the questions. And that, for business, is not good.
Ignorance is not bliss for us.
No, definitely.
At this stage of our life, it isn't.
That's what I took from the meeting, and I think they've come together, the chamber and the small businesses.
So tell us about some of those, goods coming over the frontier. That's one of the things. What else?
They're worried that a car can bring in, like you were saying, goods you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a guy comes through there's no controls, he just drives in. Labour coming in, or people that work maybe in air conditionings or whatever, coming across the border, putting it in the back of their van and setting up and doing air conditioning work, which would affect the business here.
So illegal working without a license,
Exactly.
trading without a license.
Because apparently we seem to be quite unique here, that we have licenses for trade licenses, and I think the rest of you don't have that. So what I gathered, and somebody mentioned in the meeting. So,
could you get pop-up? Do you think there might be pop-up food tents popping up?
Like food trucks.
Well, you need a hawker's license to be able to do that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But the most thing is that everyone that left knew no more than when they went in, except more. I said more questions than answers, because there were no answers.
It's very concerning. 2 months ago.
Exactly, 50 days. That's
50 days from now.
50 days from now.
50 days from now.
So,
and the thing is that there are going to be business that might do well, but others are going to not do so well. If the government says that we're going to get a lot of influx of people, and some sectors might work for them, but other sectors will not. And it's going to be a big change for a lot of businesses.
Well, let's talk about your business in Ocean Village. How are you viewing the treaty?
I mean, we're looking at it as excited. There's opportunity. Obviously, there's a certain element of kind of, people don't know what's going on. People are nervous in the industry, but we have to look at it as a positive thing. The free-flowing border is obviously going to be beneficial to all businesses in our sector. Hopefully, we're going to get a lot more day trade in terms of tourism coming, maybe from further down the coast, as far wide as maybe Malaga and Estepona and that. Maybe they'll think, let's go to Gibraltar for the day, where at the moment there's a barrier almost to entry, and it can be a bit of an off-putting.
Who wants to drive all the way there and then face a 2-hour queue?
And so on. So hopefully that will be positive change.
Do you think it needs we talked about this in the Viewpoint a couple of weeks ago. Does there need to be a better sort of transport infrastructure? For example, a park and ride or something?
Yeah, I think park and ride
to encourage people to come in
is definitely needed. There's a lot more space over the frontier for parking. A lot of people that I know actually use the kind of parking system in La Linea, and it's like €1 a day, and they'll walk across or they'll take electric scooters. The biggest challenge that we've got, if we have a free-flowing border, if we want people to come in and use our bars and restaurants, there's nowhere for them to park. So that's a challenge that has to be overcome.
We also want our tourists to come in and stay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because we're not really looking at somebody who'll grab a roll and a soft drink and move away.
Hotel rooms is another,
We
is
are,
another
that's,
issue.
our restaurants are here to serve you, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinners. We want our tourists to come and stay here, enjoy Gibraltar, explore it. We have a lot to offer. And it is going to be a win-win situation.
Can I ask you about the goods that you purchase for your restaurant, foodstuffs? One piece of good news is that there's no transaction tax on foodstuffs, which is great. Does the free-flowing border, meaning goods can come in? I know you just mentioned you're not sure how it's quite going to work, but does that mean that you have scope for, you know, bringing in ingredients that are perhaps fresher than goods that have come from the UK, for example, because you know there's not going to be a problem now?
The answer would be, we do not really know for sure.
Yeah.
But then, yes, the good news was that there's no transaction tax for food. However, there's some things, a lot of people talking, a lot of people trying to tell you things, and then what we get to hear is like certain food, if your product that we are using, the food stuff, like for example, the lamb that I use is from New Zealand. Now that lamb, when it would be coming into me, it would come in via Algeciras, be transferred to Holland, Algeciras, and then by road to Gibraltar. Since the destination was Gibraltar, there wouldn't have been any tax on it. However, now it's not a question of the destination; it's a question of the origin. And then, since it has landed on the shores of an European Union country, there's going to be a straight tax on it. Though there won't be a tax just because transaction tax won't be there, but there would be some EU tax on it, and that would up prices. So we're not looking at just a transaction tax. We're looking at, will the prices increase? The bottom line is that. We're not labeling the taxes.
And you've not had answers to those questions yet?
Well, we're still speculating.
Yeah.
We're
I
speculating.
think there's a lot of speculation. I think one of the worries is obviously food coming from the UK. Obviously, UK being outside of Europe. Obviously, there's going to be definitely an increase in food coming from the UK.
Then there's excise duty on alcohol and tobacco. So we know there's going to be an excise duty, but we do not know how much.
You're going to pay the 15% on alcohol, and then from what we've heard, we don't know for sure. I think it's all speculation. There'll be an excise duty on it as well. So then alcohol is going to go up.
The treaty is happening.
Yeah.
We're happy it's happening.
So you're saying you foresee prices having to go up
Yes,
in
we do.
Gibraltar?
Yes, we do.
I would like to temper the pessimism with some optimism, just because I completely agree that non-EU goods will increase by the import duty into the EU. That is true. And for our sweet shop, most of our sweets are British sweets, which means we may need to change some of our sweets to Spanish suppliers. But nonetheless, a lot of the food that local restaurants get are supplied from EU suppliers anyway. So they're not going to see an increase. Food remains at a super reduced 0% rate. So although we may be impacted, we are the least impacted of all industries in Gib. There are certain items that will, of course, see an increase.
But obviously, if you're importing goods from the UK that have come from India, let's say, then you are paying a different
But the
price.
thing is, as I said, I agree with what he says. We need to be optimistic. We know there's something coming up. We need to take it with a pinch of salt and pepper.
Yeah. Let's talk about the treaty then. What does it mean for your businesses with an open border? Meaning people can, you know, wander into Spain or come into Gibraltar. There's a lot of talk about an even playing field when it comes to businesses. How do you feel about that?
More tourists coming in, good sign. We bet and believe on the loyalty of our locals, so we're positive about that. Now, we are not on the even playing field at all. We are very sure about that, and it has always been that way. And it's going to continue to be that way, so that might not really help us. But what can help us is upgrading our product, making Gibraltar something that people would want to come to, no matter what. There are customers there are guests there who would definitely come to you if you are giving them something exclusive, something special, no matter the price. So I would rather look at it, it's far more challenging for us. Already our industry, as you said, is one not very easy. I wouldn't call it difficult. It's not very easy, but it is far more challenging now.
Yeah.
We've had comments from within our industry and of worries that, you know, before we used to have a lot of Christmas parties in Gib, but now it's already been happening before this agreement's come through. but the price in La Linea is much lower than ours, and a lot of people, corporates and people are doing their parties.
So is it very
there in La
unfair to
Linea.
talk about?
And so we're already, with that competition, we're losing. So if the border is totally free-flowing, those people who do the Christmas parties believe that they will lose all that business.
So is it unfair, really, to talk about an even playing field? You don't see that
We
there
don't
is
see it as
an even playing field. What are your views over here?
I think there is advantages for the free-flowing border. I think there's going to be hopefully more footfall coming in. I think Gibraltar needs to up its game in terms of the offer.
That's what we need to do.
But that's a generational shift. It's not just something can happen overnight. You have to get the foundations right. You have to get the better quality food. You have to get the better quality restaurants. With that, the better quality personnel that are fully trained, fully skill-setted and want to work in the industry.
And a tourist plan.
Well, I was going to say...
To get tourism in, that not just want to here, come for the day and go. Tourist plan,
Well, you talk
where
about
people
Gibraltar...
stay on the rock with more hotels. I think they're waiting for the agreement before they start doing the hotel by Catalan Bay. If that happens, that will be good for Gibraltar. So it's a matter of, if for this to work, there needs to be a lot of people wanting to put a lot of hard work in to make Gibraltar.
I think on the same context, though, I think the whole area will benefit. You know, La Linea will benefit from the free-flowing border as well, because people will be able to come and go. Obviously, the whole area potentially could be a tourist attraction.
Well, you talk about upping, Gibraltar has to up its game. Let's talk about how. What does it need to do?
I think it needs to come up with more innovative restaurant ideas, more retail outlets, kind of start upping the game towards being where the UK is, where you've got different franchise restaurants, you've got a varied offer.
OK, but those are private businesses. So what can the government do to attract those kind of businesses?
I think stronger tourism, the message that we put out there, maybe in London, and the connecting cities in the UK, Manchester, Bristol, you know. Let's have a really
when tourists
vibrant
visit,
airport.
When they come in, they expect to be welcome. They expect that there's good transportation. They expect good bars and cafes. They expect that they can park very easily. Tourists wouldn't want to come in if they're having difficulties right from the time they set their foot on the soil. So those things can be taken care of.
James has talked about urgently need government to try and reduce their costs. So be it rates, permits, licences, utilities, telephone, electricity. Do you concur with that?
Yes. And I know that we cannot be given state aid by the government, but if we start having issues, we might need help, and maybe helping us through less rates instead of charging us commercial rates on electricity and water. Bring a rate which is more favourable to us. And the other things, we've got the tavern licenses.
Yeah, you've got a whole list of licenses.
Yeah. We pay a tavern license, but a club doesn't pay a tavern license. And that's, I think, if they're going to have alcohol...
That doesn't seem to make sense to me, so can you explain that?
I don't know why. I don't know why. That I don't know why. But that is how it's been for a long time, because a club is supposed to be a club. But I don't want to go down that road at the moment about clubs, you know, so it's one of these things that... there are other things like social insurance, our fees that we pay to employ people. And in our industry, we've got big turnover of people. So you employ somebody, you spend a fee to register a vacancy, you pay a fee to employ them. And if you need them within the 2 weeks of not having, because you are short-staffed and you need that person, you will pay then a fine to employ them. And those fees are, you know, and then that person, you might come in, you try them out, they work for a week or two, and you realise that or they're not happy, or you're not happy with them, and you have to let them go. And you've paid a fee for that. For what? Because, and then you bring another person in to try, and another person in to try, and that is the biggest problem, is quality staff. And again, we've had meetings on this thing, and those are things that they could help us with.
To be honest, for years, that's an issue that has come up for so long.
We didn't need to pay anything.
Yeah.
And you went up there with the papers, and the following day you collected the papers, and it was done.
So would you say, just to get a general sense of how you're feeling about this treaty, I mean, I know you said you don't really know what to expect, but
we're both looking at it like this. Our glasses
The glass half full.
half full.
We are
okay.
hopeful,
That's-
despite
yeah.
being disputed that we do not know where we are going to. We are hopeful.
I think a lot of people feel that, don't they? And whenever there is a big change, it's inevitable, isn't it, that you are a bit fearful of what happens. You know, it happened when we got the internet. It happened, you know, when Big
Change
Bang
always
happened.
brings this.
You know, the digital explosion. Change, it does. But what do you think it's fundamental for the restaurant business to survive? What is it that it needs to do to survive?
Passion, very important, because this is not a very, very easy industry. Besides passion, of course, we cannot live on love and passion alone.
Mm.
You need to have a very strong support from your staff, from your loyal clients, and from the government. Because all of these things go hand in hand. And if that goes, I'm telling you, Gibraltar will be rocking. The Rock of Gibraltar will be even more rocking.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to add a more analytical viewpoint, obviously if the survival of any food business is dependent on you being very meticulous with your costs. The costs are what makes a ship sail or sink when it comes to food businesses. And I just think, as with any change, if you're willing to adapt, you'll survive and thrive. But if you're, you know, clinging on to the old system, which is going for better or for worse, you're not going to survive. So I think it's important, as we always say, to adopt the most positive mindset, because that will only benefit you. I'm super excited for all the tourists that are going to come in.
Well, are any of you planning on any changes in how you deliver your businesses, you know, knowing that the border will be open? What are you planning to do that's different?
To be honest, having the locals is a blessing.
You have to keep them, though, don't
So I have to
you?
keep
Because
them.
you don't want them going
I
across
don't
the
even know.
frontier.
That's why my pricing is very keen, and I'm more or less on par with what the pricing is in Spain as much as possible, and that's how I've been keeping myself happy. And okay, the margins are very tight, but I always have people coming in and out of the place, so I've got it busy all day.
John, are you doing anything particular, preparing for an open
Obviously,
frontier?
we're analysing costs, and you know we have a tight control on our costs across all of our platforms. I think going forward, I think look, we have to embrace it. I think Gibraltar is very adaptable. It's proven that in the past. Maybe in a year's time we'll be talking about something different. But you know, obviously there's an air of uncertainty. I think look, the businesses that are here in Gibraltar, whether it's food and drink, whether it's retail, I think they're positioned, they're strong enough. They've been in Gibraltar for a long time, established businesses. I think the people of Gibraltar will just adapt to what is coming. And I think you have to embrace it. You have to adjust, maybe reduce some costs where you can. That could be labour costs, that could be cost of produce. Look at how we, you know, position our menus, our offer.
Do you think, James, let me ask you this question. Do you think restaurants here also need to sort of look at how they can reach across the frontier using social media or any sort of other marketing tools? It's all about being present, isn't it, online these days? It seems
Absolutely.
to be.
I think lots of local businesses and restaurants have really recently pushed their social media presence. I think nearly every restaurant I know has some kind of Instagram accounts or something. But I do think pushing the marketing forward is really important. If you have a attractive food product and you're not showing it, how are people going to come from Marbella or Malaga and come and explore your food? So marketing is obviously very important. I'm obsessed with marketing. I think it's one of the most important things, and any kind of support by maybe the Gibraltar Tourist Board to incorporate restaurants into their marketing will make it more affordable, because marketing is expensive. So I think that's definitely an area where the government could consider
very good
helping
point.
businesses.
I think government are thinking on that one. I think they're thinking on that one. So that one is one. But one of the things that I forgot to mention about the meeting was there was a big worry of us losing our Britishness, because with all the changes, they were worried that we won't be able to get what we've always eaten all our lives, which is a lot of British products mixed with local stuff, mixed with Spanish stuff, because and everything, and they were all
because
very
before
worried.
it was coming from the UK,
Exactly.
but now it's the country
What
of
happens
origin.
if Morrison's can get all the things that we can get in and all the prices, and that was one of the things. And they were one of the guys says, "Look, what we don't want to become is just another town in Andalusia, because we're not a town in Andalusia.
Yeah.
We're Gibraltar, and we want to keep our Britishness." And it was quite interesting to listen to.
Yeah. Well, to Britishness in terms of the products coming in, our main supermarket is Morrison's, so it'll be very interesting to speak to them about it. But what do you mean the identity of the restaurants that we have as well? I mean, we do have...
The
like,
identity of the people.
Of the people,
Of the
that's
people.
what you're worried about.
That's what they were worried about, that, you know, we kind of...
Don't forget there are lots of open borders all over Europe, and people do tend to retain their own identity.
I know. But I think it's just worries, you know, and I was just saying, it's just all these little things
Yeah.
which are worrying people.
Yeah.
As I say, we in the association are looking at our
What you just said was in the meeting that you attended.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was
so
in the meeting.
let me just ask you one final question. So there are quite a few things that came up in this discussion tonight. You're talking about the lack of training in Gibraltar, the lack of parking. You're talking about, you know, the price of importing goods from the UK that haven't originated from the EU. And you're talking about tourism, attracting tourists.
And how do we keep them here?
You're talking. How do we keep them? You're also talking about help potentially, not state aid, but you know, some areas of you know, costs of licenses, for example, or whatever. Is there a plan that you're planning on putting forward to the government?
We've sent in a letter with a lot of points, and we're waiting for a reply.
Right.
So to all we asked our members if they had any things that would like to go into this letter that we were doing for the government. And there were quite a few people who answered our requests, and we wrote up a big list.
And you're waiting for a reply.
I'm waiting
and when
for a
was
reply.
when did you send the big list
Last
off?
week.
Okay, all right. Would you let us know, please, when you do get a reply?
Yes, we
It'd be
will.
very interesting to
Yes,
hear
we
from you. If I can just ask you for your final thoughts as we close the programme, just your final thoughts looking ahead, because it's happening, it's the treaty, it's happening. What does the future look like for the local restaurant business in Gibraltar?
Well, I think I'm looking forward to the summer. I think there's going to be an increase in tourism. I think year on year we've seen that since COVID. And listen, it's exciting times, you know, on a business level. There's a bit of uncertainty, but I think there's opportunity. And with opportunity, you have to embrace it and you have to grow.
Okay, James?
Yeah, I can only echo there is some uncertainty, but I think the general outlook is positive. We're one of the less affected sectors. We're a sector that people need every day. People need to eat. So I don't think we'll be as badly affected. And I think many people will hopefully be positively surprised once it all goes over the line.
Okay, good. Ansi?
It is said that when the winds come in, we need to adjust our sails. And we need to prepare to adjust our sails. We have done it before, we'll do it again. The glass is half full.
Okay, thank you very much. Ian?
I concur with her. We just have to adapt and accommodate what's coming our way. If there are opportunities to be had, diversify and make them happen. And if we go with that attitude, we should get through whatever storms come our way. But if we look in a defeatist sort of way,
Yeah,
but that's not the Gibraltarian way of doing
need to
things.
be positive.
That's not
yeah.
us.
That's not us.
So I hope you come back and speak to me later on in the year, so you can tell me how it's been for you, how you're faring.
How rocking it has been.
Yeah, and I thank you very much for coming and having this very interesting discussion and sharing your thoughts with us. And we do look forward to speaking to you later on in the year. So thank you very much for joining me tonight. Viewpoint returns next week at the same time. Good night.